Hi, everybody. I'm very happy to have Andre here.
Hi,
Hi,
everyone.
Andre. And we were just talking. He was giving me some 411. And first, we want to tell you about Eileen. He was saying, he was affirming probably April, May, some trouble.
Yeah, April, starting in the probably not right away in April, but at some point in April toward May. And once it starts, continues because it's sort of like you see the alignments hopping from one thing to another, so that by the summer, June, July, it's a lot more problematic for her, which also coincides with the energy getting better, much better for Jack Smith. Jack Smith there is got some, winning energy.
Yeah,
And
you were saying Jack Smith is really good when this summer?
in the summer, yeah, in the summer, June, July, August, in that range. Coincidentally, when the energy is extremely complicated for Trump, because in fact, I'm not all that surprised that the situation turned out to probably delay the trial, because to me it looked a little early based on where things are. It occurred to me, this would fit better if it happens a bit later, because
More
Trump's
towards
chart starting in late April and forward turns into a hornet's nest of insanity. So, including probably most dangerously to his health, but then to everything, because you don't want angles like that. 91 felonies, and some of them are so obvious. Like, he's trying everything he can to make sure the trial never starts, because if it ever
but
starts,
he's losing his mind. Did you see him in Philadelphia? He was garbling his words and he was saying who's they? They're gonna change Philadelphia's name? Who are they?
yeah, I know.
But yet everybody's looking at Biden. Boy, that guy wrapped up that nice gift for everyone, talking trash about President Biden. But why do I feel like that's not really people who don't want Biden already don't want Biden? I don't feel this will affect Biden.
Yeah, I mean, with Biden, the I don't see it's curious that you'd think the age thing is the worst, because they keep pounding on him over that. But there you can explain it through the planets in 23, when it really accelerated, and still now until about really next month. By the middle of next month, that pressure diminishes. And in fact, it gets to not only does it diminish, it goes in this other direction, where he would get compliments from on his wisdom, and the opposite of what he's been being attacked
What
for.
he's been going through now.
Right, but the problem that he has, the one thing that is a couple of things. One is that this aspect that continues throughout the year, it does make him vulnerable to health stuff. It does. That's the truth. Something could come up. Although he's pretty tough, people are always saying how he looks vulnerable, but he doesn't seem to have any problems, right?
No.
But I think the big thing that he has, that it's very hard to get around, is that this thing links to his foreign affairs house, and this is the Israel thing. And when you look at the Israeli problem, the problem is that in Israel, half the country wants what they're doing and the other half doesn't want it. And in the
Right.
US, the same thing. In the US, 50% of the Democratic Party thinks, yeah, help Israel. The other 50 says, no, this is genocide. So that's hurting his numbers. That's why in Michigan, where there are a lot of Arabs, the polls have looked bad for quite a while.
Right, but he's not helping Netanyahu. He said, don't be doing what you planning on doing in that one city in Palestine.
Yeah, well, you mean
Yeah,
the Gaza,
he said and
Gaza.
they're not giving them any money right now.
Yeah, that all that is true. It's just that aspect doesn't really end till much later this year, and even then, it continues into next year. It's going to be a continuous thing. So I'm not very optimistic. Like, for example, first I thought, oh, maybe spring or something, the Israeli thing improves. I don't know. I'm not sure about that. What do you see? What's your intuition
Well,
about it?
I feel Biden is going to be our next reelected as president. I'm not worried about that. And
Well, that's the main thing.
I also feel that Netanyahu has to go. And then they probably will talk about a two-state solution because he's not leaving that on the table. He wants Hamas wiped out, and he doesn't care how many Palestinians get wiped out with him.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's true. You're seeing in Israel, in a way, the same problem as here, the right wing, left wing. Because I heard today that there are quite a few people in his cabinet that want even more than he wants. They're saying
Yeah.
things like, throw them all out of Gaza and we'll put settlements in there. I mean, these people are completely shameless that way, and they don't care that the world would be
Well,
against
like a
them.
good friend of mine who's an actress, famous actress, was in Israel, and she said she told his Netanyahu's assistant about 2 years ago, tell him to knock it off of the way he's treating the Palestinians. So apparently he hasn't been very nice.
No, well, he clearly, he's not of that. He's just is not of that way of thinking. He just isn't. You
Right.
can go back and see him more than 10 years ago. There was a lot of turmoil in Israel, and he was doing demonstrations the way Rudy used to do in New York. You know, Rudy's with his race baiting, and Netanyahu, you know, really stirring the pot to get his people to oppose any kind of settlement thing. You know, the whole idea is Israel, the other people don't count. You know, they're going to be kept
Exactly.
as second-class citizens. So yeah, but
No,
yeah,
you were, go
Netanyahu's
ahead.
not safe though. Netanyahu till next year, like the way this is, he could go. It's entirely possible, you know,
Yeah.
that he's taken out. Uh, Especially for instance, at the end of the year, there's this period there where it's really dicey for him, and it could coincide with the US election. I don't know, but there's a moment there where it's very dicey. So yeah, he could go.
So you were talking about King Charles. What were you seeing in his chart?
Well, first of all, you see it's pretty graphic why he would get a diagnosis like this at this time type thing. And you can see that there's pressure there at minimum till next year around spring, right? So we've got a ways to go. And you never want to see that whenever someone gets a cancer diagnosis. Plus, remember that they won't tell you what the cancer diagnosis is. That's
Probably because
worrisome
they know
because,
it's bad. Yeah.
well, because apparently I heard it said that it could be something like bladder cancer, but it could also be pancreatic cancer. If it's pancreatic cancer, it's really, really dangerous, right?
Right.
So
And not too many people live through pancreatic cancer. So funny you said
no,
pancreatic because I heard pancreatic.
exactly. Well, you wouldn't want it to be that. That would be the worst
But wouldn't he
possible.
look bad? Wouldn't he have that look? Pancreatic cancer patients look bad.
Not right away. No,
Okay.
because that's what happened to Steve Jobs, and he lasted for quite a while, but then there's a point where you know you really decline more quickly. So, but the thing that made me a little suspicious is that I can see in Williams' chart, I can see the flow is toward a pretty big change in the 26, 27 period. You know, you can see his life realigning. I mean, that could be something else,
And,
but
and you looked at Camilla too.
yeah, Camilla, hers is what's interesting about Camilla is how you see this link between him and her, obviously, because they're both Leo rising with the same degrees rising. It's unusual to find a person who's the same sign rising as you and the same degrees, because that means planets crossing through there or through the other side, they'll affect you at the same time. So this is why, coincidentally, when Diana died, that angle got triggered and Camilla had to be affected a lot as well, right? But that's another thing, by the way, that Charles's chart shows that he was much closer to Diana than people think, you know, because they're always thinking he just took advantage of her. And I think he really felt that the loss when
Well,
it
they
happened.
said he sobbed when he saw her dead body. He was sobbing.
Yeah, no, I mean, and whenever you have a Jupiter connection to a person, you always have a soft spot for them. And so you see that there. But uh, then the thing would be with Camilla, you can see how it would fit in her chart. Because at the moment, the only thing we know is that he's potentially sick, that something potentially bad may happen to him. But the other thing you see with her, she's got a lot of planets in Cancer in a health house. So then Saturn cycle in 2025, but especially 26, 27, 28 can be threatening, you know, and this is where the older you are, the more those cycles
I've
are
always seen her getting sick. I always thought she would go before Charles,
really, well, you know, that
but
possibly
I could be
that
wrong.
that I don't know, but I know that it does definitely gets it gets complicated in there for sure. you know.
But you looked at his son William's chart too.
Yeah, that's where I said that you can see in Williams big cycles of change, and not right away, but coming up. It's going in that direction when you get into the 26. Like some of these big cycles, you know, that are changing. Multiple planets are getting out of one sign and going into another, and you can often tell where someone's life is going, especially if they have a high profile like that. It'll link up and propel them into the new dimension. If because he'd have to replace Charles. There's no other way for it to
Yeah. Did you happen to
work.
take a look, see at Kate's chart and her health?
No, her I have not looked at. No.
Okay.
What do you feel about her?
I think she had an intestinal problem. You don't go in the hospital for 10 days for female issues. I think she had some sort of resection of her bowel because she's going back in, and you usually go back in so they can put it back together again. But I think she'll do okay. I don't see her dying. But they said she was in a coma, a hearsay, said she was in a coma, but I think she'll be okay.
Yeah, they keep a lot of that. I mean, the thing with Charles is that you wonder why they're not saying, they're probably,
Excuse me, because you and I were talking before we came live, and I don't know if we talked about this now on the show. Did we talk about Eileen Cannon?
well, we did before for sure. Eileen Cannon, we said that, yeah, because we said that, yeah, we did. Eileen Cannon is that thing about how when we get into the middle of spring, she starts to get pressure. And the thing with, and I can add it, this I know I didn't say, so I'll add this now, because I mentioned that, yes, there's pressure, lines up with Jack Smith improving. Thing with her is that she's got that Trumpy kind of heedless, lack of common sense, lack of discipline. The planet you never want knocking on your door is Saturn, because Saturn will remind you, hey, you're breaking the rules, you're exceeding bounds, so then it stops you, right? That's the one that in the April, May locks in, and then it doesn't really let go for the rest of the year. Right? So that would suggest, because she's trying to do this thing where she's finding these different doorways to do little things to stall, and now she's getting into danger territory because she wants to put people's lives at risk. And I don't know if I'm not sure. There might be someone who would know, some smart lawyer, whether or not Jack Smith can go to the circuit, the higher court.
I think he's going there. I don't know why. I feel like he is.
I feel like he's going. Well, if he goes there, I mean, common sense would tell them, why do you do this? This is, it's counter to common sense.
She's telling him she wants all the private files to go to the attorneys, and he doesn't trust the attorneys at all. He knows they'll show, and in those files, she's asking for Jack Smith to give are the names of the 12 people who are going to testify against Trump. And he's very
well, they want to leak it so that they can start doing death threats and all the rest. Yeah. The usual ugly, thug behavior of the Trump camp.
But you had said Jack Smith looks really good in the summer.
He does, yeah. Smith looks good. And Smith, the biggest thing is that how dangerous he is to Trump in terms of the way their charts align, and the fact that, I mean, it's not that difficult a case to make. There's so much evidence. You can present video evidence, and it sounded to me from listening a while back that he was also going way back to 10, 15 years ago. Trump has been doing this the whole time. It's Trump's method. I remember in 2012, when Romney lost, he was telling Republicans to hit the streets and to refuse to accept it because it had been rigged. And the thing is, what rigged? I mean, this was all in his mind at the time, but it's his technique. He just does that. He creates chaos by making statements, and imagine that imagine if going back, every president had said, Al Gore could have said, oh, it's cheating, you wouldn't have a democracy. People would just, be at each other's throats all the time. So,
Romney just announced on the news, somebody asked him a question. He said, I've worked with President Biden. He seems totally with it.
Yeah.
Well, I don't find him too aged to do anything. He said, everything I've worked on him with, he's done fantastic.
I know Biden ought to say, well, he should say to the Republicans, let's have a negotiation and then you can get the better of me, since I'm I'm not thinking straight and I can't remember anything. Just tell me a story and then you'll get a really good deal for your side. Ha.
So,
I'm sure McCarthy thought that, right?
have you taken a quick look-see at Elise Stefanik?
No, her I have not looked at. Do you get a sense that she might be the one Trump would pick?
No,
No.
I don't know why. I think it's a man. I think it's somebody like Ben Carson, someone that's not going to create any chaos for him.
Interesting.
I
Well,
don't know why, but I don't know. But
Ben
I'm not
Carson, I mean,
feeling a female. Yeah.
Ben Carson, that would be like picking a sleepwalker,
You
right?
know, he would be very rude and mean to a female vice president.
Yeah, well, the only thing though is that he might be thinking, Trump thinks everything is the political game. So he might be thinking that Kamala gives Trump or Biden a big edge because, as you've said many times, when this thing gets going, women's issues are going to be front and center, and Kamala is going to be representing that very, very well. And
Yeah.
Trump knows that the suburbs of the cities, like Philadelphia, as an example, um, in Detroit, places where Republicans usually do well, they don't like Trump. So the only
Okay.
way they would maybe be drawn is if you put up a woman candidate to counter Kamala's, female power. I don't know. That's the logic. But you're totally right that if he picks a woman and if he gets upstaged at all, like I think Nikki Haley's taking herself out, the way she's behaving, I don't think that'll ever work. I would
Boy,
be shocked.
she's not going anywhere. I'm so sorry. I've been telling people that till I'm blue in the face. Even if she won, even if she stepped in, I'm telling you, she's not going to win South Carolina from her home state.
Well, no, she's not. You mean like against Trump?
Yeah.
She'd win it against Biden, but she can't win it against
I
Trump.
don't
Yeah.
know if she'd win against Biden even.
Mm.
You know, she said she would pardon President Trump. I don't think people would really want that.
Well, yeah, but in South Carolina, you have a lot of it's pretty red. I mean, I never place any faith in states like South Carolina, Alabama, Louisiana, even Texas. I mean, good luck. It's possible. Texas on the outside, maybe, but South Carolina, this is the
Yeah,
deep
they're just
South.
certain states are red.
Yeah, they're red. It's really hard to win.
What does Andre think about Pluto retrograding back to Capricorn during the election in November?
Well, retrograding back to Capricorn, that as an example, would be a good angle for Nikki Haley if she were there. To me, she's more of a threat to Biden than Trump that way because Pluto on the sun typically is a really empowering moment in a person's life, and she happens to have where her chart is set up. It's a really sweet spot, minus the fact that I don't know her birth time, blah, blah, blah. But what we've seen so far is that the most it's done, the fact that this big energy is there, the most it's done is it's brought her into the foreground. More people know about her, but she's not gaining traction. I mean, she goes to Nevada and she loses to the category that says
And
anything but.
hello,
So, I mean,
why aren't people talking about Biden getting so many votes compared to Donald Trump? Biden got a plethora of votes compared to Donald Trump in Nevada.
yeah, I know, but the thing is probably because the reason is that it doesn't matter that much at this stage. The number of votes you get, it's only going to count when you actually go into the election. Or okay, so if Nikki Haley were to get a lot of votes in South Carolina, that would be a potential thing. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think they're not going with her. So yeah.
No. So Lady Day said, has 45's last chief of staff, Mark Meadows, given info on 45 to Jack Smith?
Yes.
I felt that too. I knew that had happened. I think
Yeah.
he just spilt his guts. Do you remember when they said he was going to the DOJ, Mark Meadows, and they were showing pictures of him walking in and he wouldn't tell anybody anything? I think I had a show and I said he's going to spill his guts. He got caught.
Yeah. Well, you see, this is the most, the part that is that is most striking, and it's kind of remarkable that these Republicans are they make lemonade with the lemons they have, but man, are they ever rotten lemons, because they got to know that if Smith, gets him in court, most of the witnesses against him are his own people. Pence, Meadows, all the women that turned on
Oh,
him.
yeah,
They were
well,
all
it's all
people,
Republicans, yeah,
right? They're all Republicans. Yeah. So, I mean, this is the thing that you got to get, sometimes with Democrats, they try so hard to not be divisive. But if I see that, I'd be saying, quit telling us, he keeps saying they. Well, it's not us. We're not in court. Look who's in court. All the people around them. Doesn't that tell you something? That everybody
exactly.
around you thinks you're a crook and a liar and a venal good for nothing? They're not Democrats. Do you see Jamie Raskin, or do you see Nancy Pelosi anywhere? No, he sees Nancy Pelosi. He thinks he's seeing her, but she's nowhere on the she's not on
Right,
the scene. They're all Republicans. Yeah. So
yeah.
it's pretty remarkable.
Um, somebody asked, is President Biden protected by angelic realm? I don't think you can see that astrology wise, but I've seen a good number of high power angelic people around, angelic energy around President Biden.
Well, he can use
Now,
it.
people are asking about SCOTUS. I think that they're going to say no on the Colorado thing, even though the reasoning sucks, because they always, hey, let the state do what they want. Now they're going to pull it back because Kevin has said, we don't want America to be disenfranchised of former President Trump being able to disenfranchise. He tried to disenfranchise 80 million votes.
It's true. It's true. It's just that when you think about it, though, it's much easier for them and for the country to say, okay, no, we can't let that happen because that'll cause too much chaos. But they can also ignore his immunity thing. So you're splitting the baby and putting him in a terrible position, really, because
Right.
he
Well, I
wants
hope
them.
he's up for the vote because he's still going to lose.
He's up for the vote. You mean
Trump's going to lose. It doesn't matter where he's at. I don't care how many states they say you can't take him off. He's still going to lose.
right? But that would be in the
But
general.
he would have complained if this went through and he would have said, you didn't let me vote in Colorado, blah, 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 blah.
Well, it's even worse though. If you do this, then you invite, because Colorado, he lost that one last time, right? But if say Wisconsin or Pennsylvania or Michigan does that, then you're taking out a swing state. You're making it almost impossible for him to win. So
Right.
then there would be this idea that it was manipulated by the courts. So in a way, it's better if they say no. Okay, let's just say, because by the way, the other thing is, it is true. The Constitution says you're not allowed to commit insurrection, but it doesn't say who the judge of that is.
Right.
Like, why should it be a state? There's a federal court. And by the way, the other problem is, you probably noticed that some of the liberal judges, were also opposed to it. Kagan and
I saw that. Yeah.
so as soon as you see that,
well, I'm going to tell you that that January 6th trial that Jack Smith does is going to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that Trump is guilty of sedition. When that happens, then it's a horse of a different color.
Yeah, no, for sure. And by the way, you're assuming the guy is safe, because I'm not. I know that the angles he's experiencing this year, it's not safe. It's a really, really tricky situation, from the
For
point
Trump?
of view of for Trump. Yeah, for Trump. I mean, like, in a way, they both are. Biden's are there as well, but if you ask me to compare, Trump's are worse. They're worse.
Wow.
So that's the kind of thing that could stop you from running, literally. You wouldn't be able to do it.
Now, did you look at Tucker Carlson at all?
I haven't recently, but I'm remembering his chart. And Tucker Carlson, the thing about him is, the defining thing in his chart is that he's a liar, basically. And he has tried all his life to succeed doing it. Well, he never got any traction anywhere. So then when it started to work to lie through his teeth, he stuck to that for a while. His problem is, he's got a very similar problem to Trump, which is that planet, that I brought up, that that has a woman, it's a woman planet, right? It's why Trump, you get 3 women judges saying, nope, can't do it. Then you get Judge Chutkan, then you get E. Jean Carroll. They're everywhere now coming for him, right? And Carlson has the same problem right up in the center of the chart, and it lasts years and years and years. So I don't see this guy getting traction all that easily.
No,
Even
and I
he's
heard
got a
that
good chart, but
that interview. First of all, he did it for money. There was a lot of money around that. I don't know if Russia offered to pay him for it or somebody offered. There's something with money.
yeah, okay, that I didn't hear. So I'll defer. Yeah,
But
it's possible.
I just know that it's not working out for him. And Putin actually treated him like he didn't like him towards the end.
Yeah, I did. You saw the interview? You saw the whole thing?
No, I didn't watch it.
No.
I can't
Yeah,
stand looking. I can't stand looking at his constipated face. I posted this on my page today. I think you will totally agree. When you know you've seen that day's look before, but couldn't quite remember where.
yeah, I know. He's got that. He's got
He's
that
got
look of
that.
that look of shock. That look of uh, the perplexed look, the constipated look.
Yeah.
I know I mean, the thing that bugs me most about people like Carlson, Hannity, Ingraham, is that they're so shameless that they'll take vaccines themselves, but then they'll tell their people not to take them. It's
Oh, yeah.
just as venal and bad faith as you can imagine. So
So
that's how it is.
user said, does the orange, this is interesting that user said this. Does the orange menace chart show any indicators that his life could be in danger due to him having information used to blackmail people? Could his
No,
nefarious ways be a karmic threat? And you just got done saying you felt danger.
yeah, but not from that.
Okay.
To me, the danger to me is more health related. It has his chart has a very tight signature in the health. Well, okay, let me add another one. Its health is definitely there, but the other thing that is so obvious is he's probably going to be way behind the 8 ball financially by the time we get to the year end. But we're kind of seeing that coming, right? Because we
Right.
know there's going to be another big judgment, and this has been something we've talked about for years.
Oh, and
Now
the New York thing's coming out. It's not going to go in his favor either.
no,
Letitia
and I mean,
James.
so like 80 million is bad, but when you start being hundreds of millions behind, then he says he's so rich. I don't think he's rich at all. Like,
He
if
was
he's so
never
rich,
rich. That's
you know,
why
I,
he didn't want you to see his. If he was rich, he would have just had his tax people. Yeah, show him how rich I am. He hid it.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, but I don't think, I don't, because the question there was about being in danger from what? Like from what? From the mafia? Who are you referring to on account of all this stuff? I doubt it.
Yeah.
It's just more his own health. Yeah.
So Snoolji said a very interesting statement. With the vicious stab at Biden last night, Andre's words came to mind. March was going to be a much better for President Biden. By the way, save me from throwing something at the TV.
Yeah, I know that's the thing though. The thing with planets are that in that way the cycles can be heartless. Where I can recall more than once in my life on a Saturn cycle, and I remember thinking this isn't my fault, but I'm being blamed for it, and then thinking, should I punch back really hard? Should I just wait it out? But just sort of realizing this thing is testing me. It's like this thing's coming up.
Yeah.
So Biden has been for quite a long time because of Saturn cycles, the old age, because Saturn rules time, and it's the vulnerability that he has
Yeah.
at the moment. But it is curious that, as I said, going into the election, that same planet becomes an asset, rather than a
Right.
liability. His problem is that he has 2 others that are really challenging him. But the thing about that is that you would never find anybody running for office, kind of in this region without planetary pressure. It's just part of the deal.
Right.
It always happens.
What happens says Mars conjuncts Pluto on February 14th. That can be a lot of combustible energy. How does this affect the USA chart?
I don't know that it does that much to the USA chart. but that would be, as an example. Well, I'll give you an example where it's doing it. It's stressing out both Biden and Trump. Biden through the fact that when for it to conjoin, if you think about it, Pluto's really early in Aquarius. This means Mars goes to really early Aquarius, they join. Those degrees are stressing Biden. So my feeling is it's probably going to be the news out of Israel, because the latest is not good. More of that will probably come out and be a problem. Trump, probably some legal thing, because Trump, the whole year until the end of the year, Pluto is in the wrong place because those degrees are really aggravating to him. So Mars going through there, probably another bit of news that you won't like, that.
Right, right.
But I don't know that I would make more hay than that and start saying, there will be a catastrophic. No, I doubt that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I wanted to mention you guys, Taylor Swift's boyfriend, what's his name?
Kelsey.
Kelsey, he's going to be on Saturday Night Live tonight. Okay, so, and watch Saturday Night Live, get all kinds of people watching it. Okay, well, this is interesting. CJ said, my question for you and Andre is, will the path of the eclipse and that of the previous eclipse have any meaning or impact astrologically, because together the two eclipse paths form an X over the USA?
I don't know about the X, but what I will tell you is that the eclipses are not favorable to Trump because they're in signs that trigger his legal houses, his more difficult planets. They're not helpful to him, and that's mainly the thing I focus. Like, to me, eclipses, it's really hard to take an eclipse and then cast a judgment over a whole country. It's more that they affect certain people more than others. Because I notice in my own chart, if an eclipse aligns smoothly with my planets, it can be a major high. I'll feel amazing. When it's harder, something happens and I'm not feeling so well. When your energy lags,
Yeah.
that's the kind of thing that can happen, right? So it's more like that. You have to really fine tune it that way, rather than saying, the whole country.
Roseanne wants to know, did you happen to look at Taylor Swift's chart?
I haven't looked more closely than to say she is, well, let me first say this. There's a time for her. So in fact, people sent me this because I talked about her without a time. Then there were people on the channel saying the time is 5:17 a.m. The problem with the time 5:17 a.m. is that on the database that's online, it says really clearly there, no sources were cited for this. Someone just said, this is the time, without giving any good explanation. So then you kind of think, maybe it is, maybe it isn't. So, but if it is that time, or even if it isn't, because what you know about Taylor Swift is she has a lot of Capricorn planets. And so then she's a Sagittarius. Point being, though, that's a pretty crafty energy. When you have a lot of Capricorn in your chart, you have a political attunement too,
Yeah.
And the Capricorn energy in her chart is good for Biden, because Capricorn, in fact, that's how Biden in 2020, he was getting the Capricorn planets assisting him. So she's a definite asset to Biden that way.
Right. And what's interesting, she can't be bullied. She's not afraid of these pictures. These people trying to act. If she had been for Trump, she'd been the best thing since sliced bread. But because she's for Biden, damn her opinion,
Yeah, well, I don't, my feeling is no, she's going to be a major asset. She'll cause a lot of young people to vote.
But she has like that fairy dust. Everything she does touches to gold.
Well, and by the way, she's got a lot of money, unlike Trump,
Oh, I know, somebody said, well, that Travis, whoever he is, he got $70,000 for a bonus of $70,000 for winning the playoffs. And so you see why she's with him?
Yeah.
$70,000, that's chump change for her.
No,
but she has gold dust. I'm telling you, it's just more money than God almost. And almost anything she touches turned to gold. So it's interesting.
Yeah, and she's a big asset. Like, in looking at the the Biden situation, minus for sure, there's some threat of health. There's no question. It's there. But then people like Taylor Swift, major asset based on the way the planets, the two charts. And then the other thing that's really curious is that the other major asset for Biden is Kamala, because Kamala, in his own chart, right? Kamala it's like he's Sagittarius rising, she's the opposite. You flip it over. So that's like, she's like his wife on the political level, which is really
Right.
good. Because when Jupiter goes through there, she becomes like the partner becomes an asset to him. And my feeling is, you've said this, right? That women's issues, she's going to be the perfect spokesperson for that. It's going to draw a lot of attention to her. And
She's
then if
already
you're thinking,
starting. Yeah,
right. And if you start thinking, well, if I vote for Biden, I mean, he's so old, but then you think, yeah, but Kamala's there. So if I like Kamala, what's the problem? You know? And,
exactly.
yeah.
Have you taken a look at Fannie Willis? I don't feel like this big deal about her having an affair with the guy's going to change anything.
No, hers, I looked at it. It's but that's another chart. Again, just birthday, no birth time. But to me, it has that feel of it's a bump which you just went through. It doesn't extend.
It's not going to.
No,
Yeah.
it just disappears. Like the thing is, it's like when you're looking at Prince Charles or anyone else. If once you know, okay, this is what's happening, then you look at how long does it go. If I saw this thing building into the summer, then you think, okay, wait, this is going to continue. No, it doesn't do that. It's just
Yeah, I feel like it's gone as fast as it came on. The other thing is the reason he left his wife is because she was screwing his best friend.
well, and I
And
mean,
yet she's going to tattletale on him and make a big deal, And listen, if they were to talk out loud, she could name off all kinds of attorneys and that are having affairs. It happens all the time in court.
But my feeling about Fannie Willis is maybe that situation isn't perfect, but she seems like a really good lawyer, and I cannot imagine that she would have overlooked, that she would have put herself without an argument. And that's what I heard was that she went in court and said 1, 2, 3, 4. Here's what happened. Here's what it is, and people
Yeah,
said, "Well,
I don't feel any other drama.
yeah."
So
Exactly.
also okay. You got a pen and paper?
Pen and paper. Yes, shoot.
Okay. The 4 worst senators, this is from Lynn, are running for re-election. Cruz in Texas. His birthday is 12/22/70. You don't have to look at their chart. Just give just a quick look.
How do I
Holly
get-
from
how do I know?
Missouri. His birthday is 12/31/79. Scott from Florida is 12/1/52. Interesting, all these Decembers. And Blackburn in Tennessee is 6/6/52. Any of those birthdays look like losers?
I think the one and most dangerous Cruz.
Okay, cool.
But I'd have to leave this. Let's table this, and I'll
You
take a
table it.
longer peek so
Maybe
we
when
can
we
talk
get
about this
together
next
next
time.
week, you can, on your show, you can bring it up.
Yeah, I mean, the thing with astrology is that it would be so great if I had proper charts for everyone, but unfortunately, that's not always the case. But
I know.
even so, if I look at all of them and then do some comparisons, because the other thing you want to look at is what's the state like? Some states are better than others. Who's running against them? Because you try to do more than just say just this chart alone, especially when you don't have the full picture. Yeah.
Right.
So, but Cruz to
So
me,
Jorm said, do new moons usually bring craziness into one's life?
no. Usually the ones that bring craziness are full moons. New moons. I've said this quite a few times, and some of the people on the channel would have said, "Oh yeah, that's true," and others say, "I don't feel anything." But I noticed. Well, let me ask you: did you notice the last couple of days? Because not today, but yesterday and the day before, I always noticed the new moon has a kind of a dead energy, a feeling of things just are not very.
Well, we had that earthquake in
Well,
a 5.7 in Hawaii, a 4.7 in Malibu.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I don't know that I would pin it to a new moon or anything else. But how did you feel? Were you feeling about the same as usual?
Yeah, but even that MSNBC is getting on my nerves because everybody's, oh, Biden's down 5. F you. Biden's going to win. I don't care what y'all say. I
Well,
really
they
don't. I don't care
like
what they say. I know he's gonna win. It's almost like you're wasting my time here. Just give me the news information. I don't want the your interpret like that guy, the one with the khaki pants that, oh, he loved to give us bad news. I was like, you know what? Shut up. They
who you
said
mean?
Obama wasn't gonna win too.
Who are you talking about? Are you talking about Kornacki or who are you talking
Yeah.
about? Oh, the
I
guy
used
with
to
all the
like him
numbers?
till he was saying, "Oh, look how bad this." Nah, you're taking some sort of poll that only did 1,000 people.
Hmm.
You know,
Yeah,
that 1,000
yeah.
people, that doesn't give you the pulse of America.
Well, you got to realize though that these days the pace of information is so fast. If they don't introduce some quirks, some change, some kind of interesting patterns, then people will stop watching because it would be, repeated. So I sort of understand it. And the other thing, by the way, is that I think it's better if Democrats are a little scared. I really do, because
Actually, it's funny you said that because I kind of thought, well, actually, that gives people a shot in the butt. Like, don't you better get out there. And if we were saying, oh, he's on a landslide, no worries, then people wouldn't come out.
no, exactly. So that's the logic behind, in a way, not taking anything for granted, and yeah, and keeping people sharp. But I notice MSNBC more than any other station, what you can count on is a lot of really good analysis where a person will come up with something that really throws light, on something that maybe you think, oh, I didn't understand that until this person added up certain things. And then,
Right.
like that guy, Ari Melber, the lawyer, he's very clever at unearthing uh, legal facts that either make the case or not. And then
He's very smart. Yeah.
Rachel Maddow constantly goes back. She'll say, oh, in 1932, and she'll
Yeah.
say, this was happening then. And then, you really build a historical case and you start to really understand why some of these things, because one of the
Right.
things people should realize back in the Nixon days, right? Because people think, well, now it's really different because the public is much worse and all that. In the Nixon days, his VP was another crook like him,
Oh, I know.
Spiro
I
Agnew.
remember that.
This guy used to take envelopes of cash at the
Yeah.
White House. And when they were trying to throw him out, and I mean, like, they were trying to get rid of him at all costs because he was such a crook, there were all these men and women, big following still. In the 30s, he would do rallies and they were waving, signs and
Like with
screaming.
Trump. Yeah.
Very similar. So there's always a section of the Republican Party and the Democratic Party that will always vote for their person, no matter how bad they are. That's
Right.
you got to get used to that, and don't ever say, "Well, everybody should be rejecting Trump." That's not going to happen.
No.
Never. No.
So, Anne said, could Andre explain proactive astrology? For example, Kamala has Jupiter conjunct her ascendant near the election, a positive aspect. Does she need to be proactive?
Okay. Well, that's not the. Even though it's a good question, and thank you very much for the question, that's not the best question to ask to illustrate proactive astrology. But the way proactive astrology would work is that Kamala, in her presentation of herself, because the person doing proactive is you, right? It's not the world would be, life would be, hey, I have Jupiter on my ascendant. I'm going to, try to get elected. That's always good. It's you. You're well aligned. Now the idea is, since Jupiter is there, let me show my most confident, most optimistic, most exuberant self, but let's not go too far. Let's not do a Trumpy thing and get all up in the head and say that I'm special or anything. Just do really good, expansive communication, right? That's the way
Yeah.
to line up with. So in other words, you realize what the planet is and you do it to the best of your ability so that you cooperate with the cycle. And this
Right.
is for anybody who wants to know about their chart. Whole idea is, what are you in? What's your best behavior? Don't just sit and go, well, that's it. I'm in Saturn, so I'm cooked. No, that's not how it works. There's a way
Right.
to approach the problem. Yeah. So,
Exactly.
right.
So last question.
Mhm.
Follow your heart. Pluto changes from Aquarius to Capricorn in September and will remain there into November. Won't it influence people's mindset to be with more conservative values, thereby causing them to vote Republican?
No, because if that were true, think about it. Think about your logic. If that were true, they would have voted Republican in 2020 because Pluto was also in Capricorn. So why are they now going to vote just because it's still in Capricorn? No, and in fact, I'll go further. the late degrees of Capricorn are very unfriendly to Trump, but they're very good for Biden because
Ooh.
Biden has planets in very late Scorpio. So Pluto in very late Capricorn makes a sextile. That's a nice angle, right?
Yeah.
Trump, we know from past that he hates Capricorn. Planets going through Capricorn bother him. And 29 Capricorn is the most vulnerable health spot in his chart. And one of the things I notice about that health angle is even if it doesn't get you through health, it gets you through a kind of, you're out of sorts, misaligned, things aren't working. Not the kind of thing you want for winning an election. So the answer to that is no. Now, had it been, if it's Nikki Haley, it's a little more tricky because for her, that could indicate something. But as you said, she's not going anywhere, so we won't have to worry about that, right? So, yeah.
She's not going anywhere.
Right.
So, that makes total sense. And I don't care if Pluto's up in Uranus. It's not, it ain't doing nothing to nobody. You know what I'm saying? Well, my friend, it was wonderful seeing you. I don't know if you're watching Super Bowl Sunday, and I don't want to hear no predictions.
No, yeah, I'll watch. I'll watch.
Take in whatever. Although, I'm hoping the 49ers win, but that's just me. Yeah,
they're very, the two teams are very even. I think they're favoring the 49ers, but just from what I've seen, they look really equal.
They both look good, yeah.
Yeah, it could be one of those things where either it goes back and forth and it becomes a great game.
Oh, that last game that the 49ers played, they were behind 14 points. I turned the TV off and I heard that voice that always talks to me. It said, watch the second half. Oh gosh, okay, but you better not have my heart up in my throat. I turned it on. Bada bing, bada boom, 8 minutes, like 2 touchdowns and a field goal. Boom, they were even.
Yeah, and they have, the Super Bowl is featuring 2 really interesting quarterbacks because the guy from Kansas City, he does a lot of fancy things, sidearms, and he's famous for being in a lot of trouble. And then like what he did in the last game, he threw an amazing pass at the very end to change things. And then the other guy, the San Francisco quarterback, he's not a big guy, but apparently he learned his football playing flag football. So in that football, you have to throw it really fast. You only have so many seconds you gotta go. So he's very good at very quickly seeing what to do.
What he needs to do. And now he's starting to run.
Yeah.
He started to run. So does the other guy. But I always say you got to have a quarterback that's willing to run.
Yeah, well, no, especially because you got to run for your life. I mean, if you don't run for your life in football, it's amazing. Like sometimes they think, oh my God, these people, they put their life into their hands.
Oh, I close up all the doors so the neighbors don't hear me swearing.
It's like getting hit by a fridge and then 2 more fridges fall on you to finish you off.
Well, thank you, my friend. So we'll catch up next week. I get a feeling we're going to get a little something. I thought for sure sometime this week that judge in New York was going to hit Trump up, but he's looking at something with the guy that lied to them, that tax guy. But I feel like counts and amounts getting ready to come that are going to devastate Trump. Devastate.
Yeah, Trump is definitely, keep an eye on it. Just notice what's happening as we move toward the middle of the year. That's my final thought for now.
All right, my friend.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you guys for coming. We'll catch us next week. And it's no longer Astrology Alert. It's
Proactive Astrology.
Proactive Astrology. I'll have that on the bottom.
Right.
Okay, thank you again, you guys. Bye.